So with the recent announcement of the Hysteria 30th anniversary release, I decided to go back and listen to some of the bonus tracks featured on the 2006 Deluxe Edition, mainly the extended remixes, as they're not normally something I'd get the urge to listen to. And maybe it's because of this as to why I'm a little disappointed in the 30th anniversary edition. I won't bore you with details, but I was maybe hoping for at least some never before heard material. Anyway, if there's a positive I can take from my disappointment, it is my newfound appreciation for the extended remixes. Now, I definitely remember giving them all quite a few listens back in 2006, but I guess the novelty of hearing certain parts more clearly, or in complete isolation, was almost like a sensory overload for me. You know, it's kind of like hearing the songs for the first time again. It's hard to take it all in at once. And after that initial listening period, I don't remember giving them much attention, apart from maybe the opening Armageddon and backing vocals.
Give me all of your loving. Give me all that you got.
I think I could listen to that all day, and I'm pretty sure I have. So we'll cut to the present day, and after listening to these remixes again in full, without that same sensory overload, I can say that I think these tracks are incredibly well done. The production I feel is a little more in depth than the album, and although a bit more excessive with its use of effects, I don't think it's too over the top. You know, whether it was Mike Shipley or Nigel Green, or both of them, I really think they nailed the job on pushing these tracks just a little bit closer to the edge without falling off. You know, just enough to make these tracks seem new and fresh. Another aspect of their work which I think deserves equal praise is the construction of all the different sections, you know, using the individual tracks and samples. The logistics of this is something that I would find daunting even today with a computer screen and mouse. They had to make do with tapes and samplers, and even if there was any digital help, it would have been very limiting. So listening back again to these remixes, it reminded me of all the little Easter eggs from other songs you can find in them, mainly on Sugar and Rocket. You know, I thought it'd be cool to maybe go back and listen to some of those well-known examples and, you know, just reaffirm where they come from, and maybe theorise on a couple of new examples that I had never noticed before. So let's do just that. Okay, so let's look at some of the guitar parts in Sugar. And this first example is one I'd never really thought about before, but I'm sure most of you will be familiar with it as it's part of the intro on the single version. So it's the fast shreddy guitar on the right I'm highlighting here. The sustained guitar on the left, I'm not quite sure about, although I do have a couple of ideas where it may come from. So my thinking about this shreddy part is, if there was no additional guitar recorded for the purpose of these remixes, then where else on Hysteria is there a shreddy guitar? Answer: the solo in Run Riot. Now, it may not sound plausible right away, but the same notes are actually being played here. The difference in the backing is just changing the context of these notes, so they sound a little different. I've tried to edit the examples so they are the same length, which hopefully should make this sound more plausible. Now, I'm not 100% definite on this, but I can't see where else the guitar part could have came from. Okay, so let's listen to the next example. So here are a bunch of parts, but they all go together in the end. I think this one is a bit more obvious to tell. It's of course the end of Women. This next example has two parts which come from the same song. The guitar on the right I've always known about, but just recently realised the one on the left comes from the same song as well. This is the intro to Run Riot. You'll hear the guitar on the left first, and then the one on the right. Funnily enough, the extended remix of Excitable also borrows one of these guitar parts. Okay, so now we move on to Rocket, and what do you know? Here's another use of one of those Run Riot parts again. I've isolated the left channel so you can hear this example a bit more if you need more persuading. The telltale sign for me is the way the note dies out at the end with the whammy bar diving down. Okay, seeing as we're on Rocket, let's take a look at some of those well-known examples that Joe and Phil have already mentioned on that Classic Albums documentary. So this is a section which is similar to the album version and features a few examples we can look at. So of course we know that the backwards vocals are the Gods of War chorus, but let's actually have a listen to what they sound like backwards. Well, they'll be forwards, but it'll be backwards. Well, the track will be backwards, but they will sound forward. Yeah, well, let's just have a listen. So you can hear that it's not the main harmony of the Gods of War chorus, and I think it's actually in particular the phrasing of the last gang vocal before the outro. You know, this part here. Another thing I'd never picked up on before reversing this section were these little parts here. I just assumed they were the yeah vocals on Rocket, but listen to them backwards. You know what else that sounds like to me? Again, I'm not 100% certain, but it's not too dissimilar sounding, and I think there's a case for it there. Okay, lastly, here are some of the B's from Love Bites. I'm sure you don't need to hear them slowed down to tell what they are, but while we're here, we may as well have a listen anyway. And now one part you may not realise is that these drone sounds are also the B's from Love Bites. So let's listen to them speeded up. Whoa, 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 whoa. Did you hear that? Let's loop that section there and play it back. That sounds like something familiar to me. So did Def Leppard invent New Jack Swing? Nah, of course they didn't. But it does sound pretty cool though, eh? Now there's probably some more examples out there that I'm missing, but these are the ones that stood out to me on my recent playthrough of the remixes. If there are any more out there that you definitely know of, then let me know. I just thought something like this would be pretty cool to share, so I hope you enjoyed.